Listen to your heart. Your heart is never wrong. Always face the truth. Your heart won't lead you home.
Welcome to Soul Wealth, wealthy conversations that nurture the soul. Get ready for an enlightening conversation that will nurture your soul and help you live your best life. Now, here's your host, Dr. Vicki Johnson.
Welcome to Soul Wealth Radio. I am your host, Dr. Vicki Johnson. Excited and grateful to be back here on dcradio.gov and WHUR 96.3 HD4. My guest today, I tell you, couldn't wait to get her here. She is the founder and visionary of L.I.F.E Women's Fellowship and the hashtag She Is Free movement, built on the tenets of truth, transparency, transformation, and triumph. Her passion for the empowerment and freedom of women is fueled by her own journey of unlocking closed doors and her passion for helping women to destroy self-imposed limitations is amazing. She lives out the call on her life by coaching and mentoring women on getting out of their own way. How many of us have been in our own way? I know I have. Not accepting the imposition of others' expectations and bringing them together in sacred spaces through retreats, conferences, her live on-location TV show, and other impactful experiences. She is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, a beautiful woman, mother, grandmother, sister, auntie, and a businesswoman. She understands what it means to be released from a low place into a high vibrational, magical, beautiful, deeply sacred lifestyle of peace, love, and significance. I am so excited to have this conversation today with you, Vanessa Elam. Welcome to the Soul Wealth Radio Show.
Thank you, Dr. Vicki. Wow, who is that you were reading about?
I know. She is free.
She is free.
Wow. That's a powerful hashtag.
Yeah, it is.
And we're going to get a little more into that. But who is Vanessa Elam? Who is she? Tell us your story, some of your journey. Why don't you share some of those nuggets?
Let's see. Well, I am the daughter of a single mom, 2 other sisters. I'm the oldest. Part of my journey was molestation at a young age, at 5. And
how did that shape you? Did that shape you? And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no,
sorry,
no.
Not sorry, right? But here on Soul Wealth Radio, things just really happen. It's very organic. And when I hear something that resonates, I want to pause there for a minute because I know many are listening who were molested as a child. And it just set them on a path, on a journey. So now looking back, I want you to talk about it in retrospect. Looking back, how did that experience shape Vanessa?
Wow. It most definitely changed who I was at that age. At the age that it happened, which was 5, and I was thinking about this earlier today, there wasn't anything that I thought I could not do.
Before that
happened. Okay. And after it happened, believe it or not, it was more the response of the adults in my life to the molestation than the actual molestation that really reshaped and changed the trajectory of my life. I became the black sheep. And I believe that in the generation, I'll soon be 57, and the generation that was raising me and the generation that raised her, we still pointed the finger and blamed the girl. And so my cousin who molested me was able to go back to his room and just be. And I was punished, I was beaten. And he was 7 years older than me, much larger than me. And it really took a very long time for me to accept the fact that I was actually a victim. But during that time between 5 and, probably 35, it really changed the trajectory. I really did not. I was the black sheep of the family, literally. I was the brunt of the jokes. I was the bad names called. And literally, I had an aunt who, my mom's only sister, who literally spoke death over me. She told my mother I would never amount to anything. And this was her son that had molested me, that I would never amount to anything, that my mother would spend time I would spend time behind bars, so my mother would always be looking at me through a glass or bars, and that I would give her a bunch of kids out of wedlock, and I wouldn't amount to anything.
Wow, she said that at 5? When you were 5 years
At 5,
old.
at 7, at 10, at 15, that was all I heard.
All the time.
From her.
So that was the message.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the response of the adults, because I know that it set in motion at that time. It had to impact you to speak your truth and your truth not be believed, right? What did that do to your voice? What did that do to who you were? At 5, what message did that say? So it silenced your voice. So did you live years after that swallowing
absolutely
your truth and share more,
and not
of
wanting
who
to
you
come
are.
forward about anything. Like if something happened at school, I learned to be this very analytical thinker because I was trying to figure out what was going to be the outcome if I shared something that happened. So I always felt like I had to package or repackage something that was going to be possibly, adverse. So it's like, okay, so I got to be. How do I share this with my mom? How do I, get this information out so that I have the least amount of trauma as a result of it? So I was always self-protecting. And as a result, often lying, because in order to protect, sometimes the truth,
the truth doesn't work.
The truth didn't work, and I still, there was, and I didn't realize this until I was in therapy some years ago, and I realized that I had built up this resentment toward the people who didn't protect me, and as a result, did not trust any adult. So when adults talked to me and told me what they thought was right, sometimes my better self would say, that's not right. So I learned not to trust adults. And as a result of that, I was always maneuvering around them.
Yeah, let me just interject here. Just a side note to adults listening who are responsible for children. Listen to the children.
Yeah. Listen to the children.
Children inherently, for the most part, tell the truth.
Yeah.
Children learn how to lie.
Yes.
For reasons like you just shared. So I just want to encourage those of you listening who are responsible for children, listen to children.
Yeah.
Pay attention to their behavior. Because most of the time, children are telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right? They learn from us how to mask and how to swallow what's really happening. So thank you for sharing that. I know that's a really vulnerable, sensitive space. So fast forward through, your preteen, teen years, you're a young adult. And who is Vanessa becoming around that time? Talk about that a little bit.
A masterful manipulator is what she had become. Because the distance, the disconnect from my family created, this island that I was on. So I felt like I had to fend for myself in every area. And in order to fend for myself and put things, create opportunities for myself, I lied. So, I remember, this was before the I-9 form, so I remember going to this company and telling them that I was 18. And back then you didn't have to prove it. So I had a job at 15 because I had to buy my own school clothes and, I had to do all these things for myself. And then I got pregnant by my high school sweetheart and had the baby. And then we got married a few months after she was born. We got married. It lasted less than 2 years. And I was at that point on my own. And I was really living a very reactionary life. And, no education. I had dropped out of high school, and they had sent me to a pregnant school. And the pregnant school, the girls fought each other. It was a school for pregnant girls. And they fought each other. And that was just
chaos.
Stunning to me that pregnant women, girls, were fighting. So I stopped going. And I would leave the house in the morning dressed and with my books and my purse. And I would go hang out at the store, at the mall, and then started actually working. A company at the mall hired me while I was pregnant to work. So I worked, and it was months before my mom found out that I actually wasn't going to school, because the school never called my mom to say, hey, she's truant. She's not in school. She's absent. And then, early 20s, desperation turned into check writing. And I discovered that I could write a check, and if the money wasn't there, that I could, get it in a couple of days and put the money in time.
Don't judge her, because a whole bunch of people have done that.
Don't judge.
Yeah, a whole bunch of people have done that, especially back then when technology wasn't what it is today.
Yes.
And you're chasing checks and all of that. And
I was
so just
literally
really
robbing
forward.
Peter to pay Paul, as they say. It started out so innocently, but what I didn't realize is that I already had a mindset that was set for something to, like an outlet. And, I wasn't abusing drugs or alcohol or whatever, but my addiction became the things I could get with writing a check. And literally, I was buying my friends.
Wow.
And I felt very alone in the world. And, when you're a person who, and you don't know this when you're that person, right? So what you don't realize is that when you're doing these, manipulations, and you're pretending you're one age that you're not, and whatever, people who are honest and decent and have integrity, they see right through you, but you don't realize that. So those people fall away. So they may initially be very attracted to you, nice person, friendly. And I've always been that way. That's my default setting is, I really am a very happy-go-lucky type person. But I think sometimes I was happy acting because that got me things. And it opened doors for me.
So how long did that work for you?
Oh, boy. Well, let's just say it never really worked.
Okay.
Because I was always ducking and dodging something. And of course, eventually it became I was ducking and dodging the law. And it got to the point that it was completely out of control. And I remember moving 3 times in a month, because I was, the stores that I was writing checks to would find out my address. And then the police would start knocking on my door. And they would knock early in the morning before I went to work. They would knock late at night trying to catch me home. And I do actually believe I had a neighbor that was spying for them, because it was I would walk in the door and the police would show up 5 minutes later. So I moved in 3 months. And I remember 3 times in a month. And I remember that I sat in my living room one day after going on one of my binges. And I was sitting, all the bags were on the floor, and I was looking in the bags, taking stuff out like I normally did. And I didn't remember being in the store. And I didn't remember why I had purchased the item that wasn't even in my size. And I just lost it in the middle of my living room floor by myself. And I was constantly crying out to God. I was constantly saying, God, why am I like this? Why am I so messed up? I had a law-abiding sister. I had a law-abiding mother, and why am I this messed up human being? And I wasn't really attaching it to the molestation, but it was always there. It was always this ugly stain on me that I wasn't thought of as well as the other women in my family. I wasn't regarded as well. And I didn't feel as smart. And so my smarts I used them in the wrong way. How often have we heard people who mastermind illegal activities? People are always saying if that person put their energy into something positive, it would create something amazing, which it eventually did. But that was definitely a low place. And
what caused you to stop? Hurry up.
Let me hurry up. What caused me to stop is I got pregnant again. And I was pregnant with my youngest now, who is 30, and I was arrested.
Wow.
And this time,
that'll make you stop.
All of my charges kind of came full circle.
Wow.
And I was looking at 30 years in prison, and they revoked my bail. So I was in jail pregnant, like big pregnant. And my daughter was born while I was incarcerated, and they had kept continuing my court date. And so I was looking at 30 years, and then the state's attorney made a deal with my court-appointed attorney for 15 years, credit for time served. So I would have been possibly getting out in maybe like 9 years on the 15. And we got to court the day that I was supposed to go to court, and the state's attorney revoked the deal and said, no, we want the 30 years. I had a stack of charges on the state's attorney's desk, folders that were, as high as my waist. And I'm 5'10" since we're not on TV or radio, and which is pretty high. And God had mercy. And the judge said that he would give me a year, and he would give me credit for time served. I had already served 5 months waiting to go to court. And I was transported that night to Maryland Correctional Institute for Women in Jessup, Maryland. And I served out the rest of that year, which was like another 5 months or so. And while I was in the first jail waiting to go to court is when everything shifted.
Wow.
Everything shifted.
You mean shifted internally?
Internally
for you. So I want to move through because this is really powerful, and you all have to buy her book to hear the rest of the story. But I wanted to take the time to walk that out, Vanessa, because people look at you now. And this is what we frequently do. We look at people, we make snap judgments, we make assumptions, and people look at you now and look at your life and how you are soaring and inspiring so many women, but many don't know the backstory. And the truth of our story is really where our superpower is. That is where we impact so many people. So internally, there was a shift. So fast forwarding, what now inspires you? Who inspires you?
Who inspires me? You had to take me there, Vicki. I wasn't.
I know
I wasn't ready for that.
She has tears, but it's okay because this is what Soul Wealth Radio is. This is what it's about.
Ready
it's very
for that.
Keep it real. But who inspires you?
Women who are living unapologetically, I inspire me.
That's awesome.
I have to,
Never had that answer, and that is awesome.
I inspire me because I know where I've been, and I know what I've done, and I know what I've been forgiven. And so every day I get to live this life like I don't have the same mind that I had before. I don't have the same heart that I had before. And every day I get to do it better than the day before. And because, I often hear people, and this is not, a dig at anybody personally, but when you've lived underground, which I did for 5 months, I didn't know what the weather was, right? So you don't know whether it's sunny outside, whether it's raining, whether it's cold. And so when I hear people complain about the weather, I always kind of chuckle to myself a little bit. And so I rarely ever, you probably won't ever hear me complain about the weather because I get to see the weather. And so, I look around my home and I look at all that has been accomplished that wasn't supposed to be if I had stayed that girl, because I got stuck at 5. And I remember you spoke at a women's conference that I hosted about 5 years ago. And my sister and I, Robin, we always talk about this moment when you said that you are only as far in life as that moment where you got stuck, where that trauma was that you haven't overcome. I'm paraphrasing now. And I was stuck at 5 years old. And I was that little girl who didn't know what to do. Emotionally stuck.
At 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though chronologically, the number was going higher.
Yes.
Emotionally, you were stuck at 5.
Yes.
And that 5-year-old Vanessa was protecting, right, and guiding your decisions. And that's really what I want to just pause here for a moment to say. If you are making unhealthy and toxic decisions consistently, then a tool that I offer to you in this context is to just sit in stillness and start remembering as far back as you can remember, when was your voice taken away from you? When did the trauma happen that you did not ever recover from? Life kept going, but you never recovered. And I just want to say publicly, Vanessa, thank you for your vulnerability and your transparency, because you are helping people right now. These nuggets are triggering in a positive way someone to remember, oh, that's what's going on. And it's really a beautiful thing. Why don't you share with us, as we're coming to the conclusion, we have time for a few more questions, but what is a lesson for you that caused you to pivot in your life? Just kind of reflect and think on a moment that caused you to shift, and be who you are.
Shift and be. I really think that the first would have been the day that I was released.
Powerful.
Because I was literally free. So I apologize to your listeners.
That's okay.
Vicky's got me over here tearing up. The day that I was released, it was the most amazing. It was sunny. It was warm. It was October. And I vowed that that was the last time that I would ever be behind bars. And then the journey began because, all the letters I was writing to God while I was inside, and I started a women's Bible study and a women's exercise program while I was inside because I had to do something with my mind. And so my women's ministry actually started in prison.
Awesome.
And so
that's Life Women's Fellowship.
Well, it had no formal name back then.
But it's now Life Women's Fellowship.
Now Life Women's Fellowship, yes.
With the hashtag She Is Free. Now you understand, right? Yeah. The power of that hashtag and where it came from.
Yes.
And not just the hashtag, but the statement, She is Free, came from somewhere. Like, you don't know freedom until you've been bound.
Yes.
You don't appreciate the light until you are forced and required to live in darkness, and you have no option to go out and look at the sun. And it's really a powerful thing. So She is Free has become a movement, right? That now you're speaking, you're writing, you're coaching, you're mentoring women, and you have this amazing apparel line.
I do. It's so cute.
Talk about beauty for ashes, right? And your life completely shifting. Talk about your apparel line and where that came from, and just the life that you now get to live in a space of freedom.
The life I now get to live is really, not to sound cliche, it really is nothing short of amazing. And, I was able to find a job, work that I enjoyed as a recruiter. And I've become an expert in my field of recruiting strategy and sourcing for government recruiting, specifically in the cleared space. So that's my day job. But my love and my passion is working with women. And I had so many women that hurt me along the way, along this journey, even women that I befriended and that would stab me in the back because I was easy prey, because when you're desperate, you take on everybody, right? And so one day I asked God, I was like, I need you to get rid of these people lovingly and without drama, and then I need you to handpick my friends. And it really is the sisterhood that surrounds me. And of course, my family stuck by me. My mom stuck by me. My mom and I have an amazingly beautiful relationship. There is no bitterness toward the past. She did the only thing she knew to do. And, we learn and we evolve. So she learned and she evolved. So that's come full circle. And
I'm going to make that your soul wealth tip.
is that
Learn and evolve. That's important because some people just get up and go through life not learning, not evolving. They get up and repeat the day before. And then the next day they repeat the day before. They never move forward. They never evolve. And so your journey is powerful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And, the hashtag She Is Free is a wonderful thing. So what legacy, as we're coming to a close, what legacy do you want to leave?
Joy. That I lived joyfully, because now, my joy is not predicated on what's happening. It's and it's a choice that I chose joy and I chose freedom and I chose to not answer to anyone else about the direction of my life.
Wow.
That I don't ask permission on my next move. And it's a very powerful place to be.
I got to stop you. Hold on.
Okay, I love it. No problem.
Yeah. You don't need permission for your next move.
I don't.
That's sweet right there.
Yeah, it is sweet.
You do not need permission for your next move if what you are currently doing is not fulfilling, if it is not lighting up your soul, then do something different.
Yes.
You don't need permission for your
And don't be afraid to try
next
those new
move.
things.
Yeah,
Those,
you don't need permission. I'm saying that again.
Yes,
you don't need permission
You don't.
for your next move. I wanna slide out on that. You don't need permission for your next move. And I heard you. You don't be afraid to try new things. Vanessa, how can our listeners connect with you and contact you? Where can they find you online?
On Instagram, I am Vanessa Elam. Facebook, Vanessa Elam. Life Women's Fellowship has a page. It's L.I.F.E, all capital letters. And VanessaElam.com is where you can find out what we're up to next and purchase your apparel.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that where we
you
can
can
find
get yourself a gorgeous
amazing
hoodie dress or one of our new hoodies. Our spring fitness line comes out in April, and some really cute tops. And this year we're actually adding 2 pairs of jogging pants to the top. So and we have 3 major events coming up this year in 2020. So it's awesome. Exciting times.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vicky,
for coming on the Soul Wealth Radio Show. Vanessa Elam. I am your host, Dr. Vicky Johnson. Please visit my website. That's vickyjohnson.com, VIKKI Johnson.com. There you can find all of my books, including my most recent book, Soul Wealth, Finding Vision, Compassion, Authenticity, Abundance, and Legacy in the Midst of Chaos. Again, you've been listening to the Soul Wealth Radio Show on dcradio.gov and 96.3 HD4 WHUR, as well as on all major platforms. Listen, Soul Wealth is your birthright. So go out into the world, live full. You don't need permission, so you can die empty. Until next time, peace.
You've been listening to Soul Wealth, wealthy conversations that nurture the soul with Dr. Vicky Johnson. Soul Wealth is not just a brand, it's a lifestyle of vision, compassion, authenticity, abundance, and legacy created one conversation, one choice at a time. For more information, visit vickyjohnson.com or click on Soul Wealth at dcradio.gov.